Hey everyone. I've had a very busy day of movie watching. I actually watched four movies today, but three of them are from 2014, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about those specifically. I also watched The Age of Innocence with Martin Scorsese movie, um, which I wrote like a little bit about on my film blog if you want to see that. Um, I guess I'll just tell you the three movies I watched that are from 2014 was I watched They Came Together, which I had in from Netflix, and then I went and saw the Skeleton Twins at Sundance Cinemas here in Madison, and then I saw Stray Dog at the Madison Cinematheque. More about those later. First, uh, They Came Together, which is if you are not familiar, is a comedy directed by David Wain, starring Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd. It's basically a satire of romantic comedies, and I gotta be honest, it left me a little bit cold. I actually really like both Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd, and so I think they went like a significant way towards saving it, and it wasn't. I didn't hate it, but I feel like I like romantic comedies, and I feel like they are an easy topic for satire. I don't. I mean, in a way where like you could make a really good movie, sort of parodying them. Um, I'm probably using satire and parody and send up if I use that word or whatever incorrectly because I know they have very specific meanings, but I don't care, so bear with me. Um, I feel like it was like a lazy parody. Like I feel like they did made like only the obvious jokes. I think ideally if I would have watched a movie that was a parody of the romantic comedy genre, I would have I would like there to be moments where I'm like, oh yeah, like they do that in romantic comedies, which like didn't really happen at all. Um, it was not without its redeeming qualities. Parts of it were funny. Um, the two leads were really charming, and that goes a long way. Also, there was like a perhaps a my son, what have you done? Oh, shout out in it, which maybe not, but I'm going to interpret it that way. And if you've seen that movie and you watch this movie, let me know if you agree. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about it because it wasn't. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, and it was pretty straightforward. My feelings for it were pretty straightforward, so I don't really have much to add to that. Because everything else was like all the technical elements were just like okay, they got the job done, but were not especially interesting. So yeah, that's that. Next, I saw the Skeleton Twins at the Sundance Cinemas here in Madison. That was directed by Craig Johnson, who I haven't seen in either of his other movies. Um, it stars Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader. That's his name, right? Just let me just double check that really fast before I continue to embarrass myself. I'm so bad with names. Um, yeah, Bill Hader. Um, so Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader are brother and sister who have not seen each other in years. It doesn't say exactly how long. Um, and Bill Hader's character's attempted suicide at the beginning of the film sort of brings them together. And really the film is sort of exploring their relationship as well as the paths both their lives have taken. The script I thought depicted like a sort of a sibling relationship very well, in their sense of showing like a sibling relationship is one that like always exists even like as people change, and it's different than like a parent-child relationship where there's like more of like a hierarchical structure to it. And I think that the film did a really good job of bringing out the nuances of that relationship. I do think that the screenplay felt a little bit bogged down by some of like the really serious themes it addresses adjacent to that. I don't really want to say too much to give it away, but it's particularly in Bill Hader's storyline, I felt like it was a little bit heavy-handed at times. That being said, I really, really enjoyed the movie a lot, and like I didn't want it to end because I was like really enjoying it. A big part of that is the performances of the two main actors. Even in Kristen Wiig's other movies, like that were comedies, if there were like dramatic moments, I always felt like she pulled them off really well. So I'm like not really surprised by how good her performance was in this film. Bill Hader, I have not really seen much of his work as an actor outside of SNL. So I wasn't, I had heard his performance was good, so I wasn't expecting it to be bad, but it was really good. So yeah, so that definitely like it was a large part of I think what the made this film worth viewing for me and made it like a really enjoyable experience were those two performances. And I will say that like another issue I had with the screenplay is that it made particularly Bill Hader's character like a little bit too much of an asshole potentially, but he brought a really like human element, sympathetic element to the character that really made up for that flaw in the script, no problem. There were some like actually pretty decent cinematographic moments, I thought, which I was really, really not expecting. Excuse me. But really, I think that easily the strong point of the film is the performances of these like generally comedic actors in these dramatic roles, which makes the characters much more relatable, I think, than if they would have been played by in more traditionally dramatic actors. I don't know what is wrong with my throat. Okay. That's all I'll say about the Skeleton Twins. It was really good. You should see it. The final... It's like there's something in there. I can feel it. The final film I saw tonight was Stray Dog, and I actually just got back from that. That's the new film from Debra Granik, who is best known for her work on Winter's Bone in 2011, I believe. This film is a documentary about this man. His nickname is Stray Dog. He's a biker, and that's his like biker name, I guess. Who lives in southern Missouri, where Winter's Bone also took place. And it starts off as, it sort of expands a little bit as it goes along, which is good, I think. It starts off as being about him and his identity as like a veteran. He was in Vietnam. And some of the effects that has had on him, mentally and socially. We meet his wife, Alicia, who is from Mexico, and later on in the film, we meet her sons. We also meet some of his friends and neighbors. So the film it starts off with him, his granddaughter also, and his daughter, and some of his other family members. So it really radiates out from the central point till eventually it's definitely he's the focus still, but it incorporates everyone else in more than trivial ways. I do think that at times it tries to do too much, in that some of the stories didn't feel complete to me. In particular, I would have liked. It almost felt like you could have had a whole movie about his stepsons coming from Mexico and adjusting to life in rural Missouri. There was like a lot of like interesting moments with that. I thought that was the most interesting sort of subplot, if you can say that about it. It's a narrative documentary, so I guess you can say that of the film. And also about his granddaughter, who at the beginning of the film was struggling working 2 jobs, and she has garnished wages, and becomes pregnant during the course of filming and has a baby. So it would have been interesting to see that expanded on more, whereas I feel like no, I mean the central storyline was good. It just wasn't the most interesting to me personally, and I will acknowledge that that is a personal thing. Um, I actually at the Cinematheque where I was, they had Debra Granik along with her editor and several of the people in the documentary, including the main guy and his granddaughter, another biker we meet who is a VA therapist, I guess I will say. So they were all there. It was a really good Q&A, I thought. Debra Granik addressed a lot of issues about, you know, filming a documentary that is so personal because it is just about like one person, especially somebody who she doesn't know him, she didn't know him. He was cast as in a small role in Witcher's Bone. I would have to rewatch it to find him, I'm sure. Yeah, so she got into a lot of like the different experiences of the person making the film versus the person being filmed. And you know, it is like, I feel like documentaries are like ethically gray often if the person who is making the documentary like is filming the story are the people getting anything back from it. But it seemed like from what he said that he had and his family had actually benefited a lot from the making of the documentary, and that his stepsons from Mexico were able to enroll in school using the money that they got. So that's good. Good job, Debra Granik, on that front. Yeah. The granddaughter and I kept making awkward eye contact during the Q&A, and like there I was dressed like this, and it was like a biker movie, and also Madison Cinematheque crowds are kind of bro-y, so like I thought it was like really funny, and I was into it. Yeah. So Stray Dog, I mean, it wasn't like it definitely is a documentary that relies a lot on its not characters, but you know, the people who it is documenting, more than it really stands up through its own construction. But that is a minor complaint because I thought it was really well made in a very straightforward way. There was no open voiceover or Q&A or anything. And I'm not really somebody who to be especially interested in the main storyline, but even that one, it was like, it kept me emotionally involved. So I think it was successful on that front, even if it wasn't the most exciting to me from a pure filmmaking perspective. And really, storytelling, I think, is where Debra Granik's talents lie. I mean, I've only seen this movie in Witcher's Bone, so that's like not potentially not descriptive of all of her work. I think she's only directed 3 movies though, so maybe it is. But I think she definitely has a gift for storytelling, and the filmmaking, I think, is somewhat secondary to that, and it's like merely a means to an end. In Winter's Bone as well, but also in this film. Yeah. So I would also recommend Stray Dog if that's playing near you. I think it's going through the festival circuit, I think, right now. So who knows how much of a release it will ever get. But it's worth a watch. All right, thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone.